I've never done anything like this. I've never had a Q&A where I sit down and just share like my honest, transparent answers and numbers about my life. I'm usually quite hesitant with those things, but you guys have absolutely loved the content where I do get into the numbers. I do share the honest truth. And so I'm excited. And to celebrate 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, guys, I'm so excited. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can also now watch every single Girls That Invest podcast episode on YouTube from 2025 onwards, which is incredible. And to celebrate 5,000 YouTube subscribers, I thought I would do a Q&A. It is really, really odd to be able to say that we are on YouTube because I always said I'd never do it. I was like, no, it's not for me. And I think realistically, I was just like not embarrassed, but I think I was very, very nervous because if you talk about something, but you put it in an audio only podcast, that feels less like you're releasing it into the world to be judged versus putting a YouTube video up where people can actually see you and see the comments, I don't know, see the likes and dislikes. I know YouTube removed the dislikes, but I can see them if anyone gives us a dislike. So it's very different, but I'm excited to chat. And I've got my questions that I've asked everyone on Instagram. So let's just get into it. I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to answer all your questions. It's going to be a nice and cozy episode. So, get your mug. If you're like walking, get your hot girl walk in. If you're cleaning, it's not going to be a numbers heavy episode. I know a lot of people get like a pen and paper out when they listen to the Girls That Invest podcast. And to that I say, I'm sorry that it is so jam-packed with information. So let's do something light, something easy. This kind of feels like when you go to school one day and your teacher's like, guys, we don't have anything on today. I'm just going to set up a TV and we're going to watch The Sound of Music and then we're going to paint all day. That is really what this feels like. So first question, how do you juggle and quote unquote do it all? Thank you, Nicole. That is a great question. I actually don't think that I juggle too much. Like, guys, I don't have kids. I don't have a husband. My parents are still quite young. They're in their 50s. So they've definitely had like health scares and we've been there for them during that time. But overall, they're independent and healthy. They're not relying on me to drive them places. So I don't have dependence, sort of up with the stream or down with the stream. And so my life is actually filled with a lot of free time. It is quite easy to choose what you want to do when you don't have a lot of responsibilities in that way. Like, don't get me wrong, I have normal people responsibilities. Like, I have a mortgage because I chose to buy a house and that's, got bills that I have to pay. But besides that, and keeping myself alive, like I don't actually have too many responsibilities. And so it's not hard to quote unquote do it all. I think life was a lot harder when I was in the building phase of my life where it was like, I have my full-time job and I'm trying to grow my side hustles and I'm trying to figure out like investing. But now that I've gotten to a stage where I do have businesses, I take a salary from those businesses. I also take profit from those businesses if there's some left over and put it into my share market portfolio and put it into my real estate portfolio. That's a lot easier life. And so I don't feel like I'm here to be like, wake up early and work hard and girl boss your way and like wake up at 5 a.m. and do manifestations. Like there's no doing it all because there's not much to do. And I think when I think about women that have done it all, I think about like my mum who was working full-time, studying full-time, or maybe she was working part-time. She had me, I was like 8 years old. She had my brother who was a newborn. And she was doing all of that. And my mum back in the day could not type very fast. And so she would write out all of her assignments by paper. And then she would read them to my dad and he would type up her assignments for him, which was very sweet. That is what I imagine someone that's juggling it all is doing. The next question was, with a Desi background, how do you balance finance/independence and the societal expectations? Thank you so much, Anushka. That is a great question. For those that don't know, Desi, it's like a cultural term for people of certain South Asian descent. It's kind of like saying someone that's like strongly or ethnically or kind of, I don't know, like from the farm land version of India versus like a city person. That is my understanding. I could be wrong. That's what I imagine at least. And how do you balance financial independence versus that sort of desi expectations? I grew up with I was a kid that would go to the Gurdwara the Sikh temple every single week on a Saturday, and then sometimes would go on a Sunday as well. So twice a week sometimes for like 10, 15, 20 years. My mum is very, very religious and my dad is very supportive. And so we would go, I went to Punjabi class. I used to learn kirtan, like I learned how to play the harmonium and I would participate. And I actually think that is the reason why I can like jump in front of a camera or in front of a crowd and like talk to people, because there is nothing scarier than trying to sing in another language that you are actually not that good at. And you also don't have a good singing voice. Like to do that as a child where people would like, obviously I wasn't very good, but I would still do it because I was so scared of getting it wrong. I think that just like set me up for success. So I grew up in a very, very strong cultural expectation and society of like, this is what a Punjabi Sikh woman does growing up. And those things included like being really simple, being very religious, and education was really a huge part of my parents' upbringing for me. They were like, you have to be educated, like always have your education. And I think there was also a little bit of an expectation, actually no, a strong expectation to also settle down and get married and have children and kind of fulfill that side of a life. And I completely understand why they had those beliefs and thoughts, because if you think about it, that is the way that they have grown up being told that this brings happiness and fulfillment. And all they want is their children to have happiness and fulfillment. And happiness and fulfillment and safety often back in the day used to come from being married to a very, financially supportive partner and also being financially successful and kind of building a career together. And there was definitely pressure from like every angle, like, going to the temple and people being like, when are you going to settle down? Like, you're 24, you're 25, you're 26, you're 27. Simran, you are 28. What are you doing? But I think that as I have gotten more financially independent and as I've seen more milestones being reached, like purchasing my own home or starting my own businesses or being able to travel, I think the pressure to fit societal norms started decreasing. And I actually think I kind of hit a bump where like there was this lead up to like, you need to do what the right thing is, what everyone else is doing. And then I think I hit 27 and they were like, you are a lost cause. I don't know how to describe it, but overall it's been great because I think you can take your culture and what makes you unique, what makes you special, and bring it into the other world that you live in, the Western world that I grew up in, and be able to say like these things about my culture, the hard work, the family values, the grit, the, get up and just get it done. Like your grandparents were farmers, your dad was a farmer, like your job is not hard working in office. Like all those things that I had were really important. And I guess like part of my journey and my story. And I love being Punjabi. I love being part of my culture. And it wasn't easy to get there, but you figure it out and it takes time. The next question was, what are the best books about investing that you've read, except for yours, because it's obviously the best one? That is definitely a sweet message. My favorite books about investing. I think I've liked a lot of books. I did a podcast episode, I think 3 weeks ago, called like, I read 40 money books or finance books, like this is what will make you rich. And I will share with you the most recent one I've read. I don't love reading books that are very like focused on, like I tried to read The Intelligent Investor and I could not read that book. I could not finish that book. It was just so hard for me to read. I would say my favorite book was my first book. So it's obviously very cliche. And it is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because I totally, without a doubt, related to the Rich Dad, Poor Dad analogy of like growing up with a family that was like, work hard, get a job, get a 9 to 5, it's safe, get a government job, get a pension, like that was how we grew up. And so to just understand this other side of the coin of like build businesses, build leverage, like ownership is the key to success. And if you build assets that pay you, you can kind of get out of the rat race and all those things. I think I was 17 when I read it. And my friend's brother had read it. He told my friend to read it. He was like 10 years older than us. And then when she read it, she told me about it. So I read it. That was the way I got into all of the financial stuff. I definitely have like some sadness around the author because he is always like fear mongering online, and Robert's always like, the stock market crash is now, the next crash is now. And I'm like, Robert, why? Just like, you wrote a great book. Like, I know you're making good royalties off this. You don't have to scare us. Just tell me it's going to be okay. And that's all I want to know. I would say that is my favorite investing book. It's not really a book that goes into the details of investing, but it gives you like a big overview understanding. And so that will always just be, the one close to my heart. And I think I might even read it again. Someone then asked, is 42 too late to invest, or is it better than nothing? Oh my God, so many more questions came in. I don't think that there is a time that is too late to invest, in the same way that you would not say to me, there is a time that is too late to go to the gym. Like, if I was 42 and I said, I want to get more fit, you'd say to me, okay, be careful. Like, you're probably not going to go up and like do big weights with the like muscle men in the corner, but like, go slow, maybe get some help, get a personal trainer, maybe start light, start easy, just go and lift some weights or go on the treadmill and then work your way up, and you'll be fine. And you'll also say, yeah, sure, like it would have been easier if you had worked out when you were younger and your bones were stronger and you had all this muscle memory. But, 42, you still have like 50 more years to go. Like, that's a lot of time to improve your health and your wellness. It doesn't mean you should just give up. And it's the exact same with your money. Like, 5 decades worth of compound interest is pretty decent. If you start now, you will have more than you end up with, because you're going to be older regardless. Like, we're all going to be, touch wood, we're all going to be 70 years old, 80 years old. I'd rather be that age and have a bit of a nest egg, because I started in my 40s, than no nest egg at all. There's always that saying, one of my favorite ones, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And I think that's just the best way to look at it. We can sit there and be like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so annoyed. Like, I wish I had done this better. I wish I'd done this faster. I wish I'd done this earlier. You'll be surprised. Makes me really sad how many people message me and go, I wish your book existed when I was in my 20s. Now I'm in my 40s, 50s. Like, is it too late? No, like, my friend's grandmother read Girls That Invest a few months ago and started investing. My grandpa invests. Like, it's not too late. And if you tell yourself it is too late, it is just like creating a barrier for yourself that doesn't need to exist. It is the exact same as going to the gym. Like, money and exercise are so similar. Another question, how do you stop caring about people perceiving you online? Good question. I definitely grew up like being taught, like, think about what other people will say, like, don't do this, what will people say? And I don't know. I guess my thought process around it is, I don't care. And it is so fine. Like, people will talk about you no matter what. I remember I got into optometry school, and I remember someone said to my parents, they were like, oh, she didn't even want to do optometry. She just did it because her parents told her to. Like, I got in. Like, I'm so happy. I was so excited. And it made me think, like, when you do well, people are going to like have like a, yeah, but da da da. And if you don't do well, people are also going to be like, yeah, well, so and so. And in every single life experience that I've had, or like different journeys that you can take, like, there will be an angle where what you're doing is perceived as, not the right path by some people. And you've just got to decide, like, what is something that you can live with. I don't want to get like too woo-woo, but I really oftentimes just think about how I am on a floating rock in space. None of this matters. Like, I'm going to be gone one day. I'm just here to have fun. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to enjoy my life. And hopefully other people enjoy their life too. It is only the people who aren't enjoying their own lives that are the most loudest about other people's lives. That has been my experience. Like, anyone that has a lot of negative things to say about other people, it's usually like a sad thing, because it means like something's going on at home or something's going on in their work or their personal journey. So, I make videos, I put them out on the internet. I make podcasts, I put them out on the internet. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to feel neutral about it. Some people might even dislike it. And that's okay. I think like if I try to spend my life being liked by everyone or being worried about being perceived, like I would just never leave my house. I'd just be in a little cocoon, which actually doesn't sound too bad. But if you've asked this because you want to start posting content online, just do it. Like you're going to be judged either way. Next question. I'm currently 19 and I want to be financially free by 25. Biggest advice. If I could go from being a student to financially free in 6 years, I would have done that by now. And then I would be like shouting it from the rooftops. That is 6 years is incredible, but that is a very, very, very short time to be financially free. But to really answer your question, I think there's two ways to look at it. One is, what does financial freedom mean to you? Does that mean having your own business that you're earning from? Because yeah, you can do that in 6 years. Does it mean having a really high paid job that, you know, as long as you're working, you get that salary and it's over 6 figures? Yeah, you can do that in 6 years. These things are actually doable. Does it mean having enough money that you never have to work again? That's probably a little bit harder. So figure out exactly what that number is for you. Like, is it 100K in a salary, 150K in a salary? Is it a home that you own that you're starting to pay off? Decide what it means and then just work backwards and go, well, if I want to have a salary of this much, what jobs pay that? What do I need to do to get that job? Like, how many years do I need to work up? And just reverse engineer what you're looking for, and anything is doable that way. That's kind of how I set my goals up. I was like, I want to have this much invested. And then every year I went backwards and figured out, okay, well, to buy a home that's $500,000, I need a 10% deposit of $50,000, and over 2 years, this is how much I need to save and invest. Like, that's how I would get started. The next question was how to stay disciplined with spending in areas like groceries and wellness. You need to feed yourself and you need to feel well. I am not the person to tell you to like starve yourself or eat bad food or to not focus on wellness. It is okay to have things that you spend money on that you value and be like, okay, Sim, like I'm going to set a strategy. I'm going to sit down and write all of the things that I invest in. I'm going to write all the things I spend my money on, all the ways I make income, and figure out if everything is in alignment. Like, I believe in this idea of value-based spending, where if I am making $1,000 a week and I really value looking after my body, then I'm going to spend money on food. I'm going to spend money on the gym. I'm going to spend money on skincare. That makes me feel good. It just means that I have to also find things that I reduce my spending on, because I can't like eat well, work out, have good skincare, and buy lots of, you know, really fancy clothes and go on lots of holidays and try to save up for a house and also, you know, like be really generous with gifts. Like, you've just got to find 2 or 3 things that you're happy to spend money on, and maybe find 2 or 3 things that you really need to reduce, but don't completely deprive yourself. And if you are worried that you're spending too much on wellness, because I think wellness is more wishy-washy, like, you know, what does wellness mean? Is that looking after yourself, or is that things like getting a facial and getting your nails done and like getting your eyelashes done? Because those things can add up. Maybe you give yourself a budget and you're like, hey, for the entire month, I can spend $200 on wellness. Once that money is done, like, no more wellness. The wellness stops. The wellness turns into sitting at home and putting a candle on and journaling. And that is my free wellness routine. Like, there's ways to still enjoy and treat yourself, but not in a way that hurts, you know? Another question came up by Loretta, which is how to stop comparing my amount saved to others. I guess, how do you stop comparing what you have to other people? The last video or the last podcast in the series was actually all about that. But what is really, really important for me is understanding that I am not starting out in the same place as the person next to me. So there's no point comparing myself. For example, I have a very, very, very wealthy friend, and even better, she did not come from wealth. She built it herself. That is her own hard work. And we are similar ages, and we went to similar schools, and we grew up in similar areas. And it could be very easy for me to go, oh my God, she has so much more money. Like she grew this company, she sold it, she's done so well, she's like living her best life. It could be very easy to compare, but I think I also have to remind myself, like she's had her own journey that has been different to mine in ways that you can't see from the outside, but if you get to know this person, you can understand why we've ended up in different places. And that also doesn't mean this is our final destinations. Like I still believe that I can do well and invest more and save more. And that is what I need to focus on. And as long as I'm getting better than, my past self from the year before, it doesn't feel good to compare yourself to others. And realistically, there will always, unless you are like Elon Musk, like there's only one richest person in the world. And you will always have someone that has more than you. You could have literally $100,000 cash on your bank account. You could have $1 million cash on your bank account. But guess what? There's someone there with $2 million. There's someone there with 10 million. Like there will always be people with more. And even if you are successful and rich and like well off, you will really cause yourself a lot of grief and pain if all you do is worry about what other people are doing. Do not look at other people as a barometer for what you should be achieving. Just make sure that you are doing better than your past self. And that is honestly enough. Oh, okay. This is a cute question. What are your small joys, the little moments that highlight your mundane days? I love this. I'm trying to be more intentional. For those that are watching this on YouTube, can you see I'm moving my nails a lot? Because look, I got my nails done. They are so red. I love them so much. And I guess that's probably the answer to the first part. My small joys include having a nice set of nails. Like it just makes me feel put together. If my nails are long, chipped, like not painted, it's a really good indication of my mental health. So when my nails are good, I am good. But my little joys include like a cup of coffee in the morning. Like I'm starting to love coffee again. I know it's not the best for me. I used to just have matcha, but it is what it is. I love the sun coming into my house in the morning. Like every morning I wake up and I see it and it just feels so good. And then I just sit and I have like a little booklet with my gratitudes, and I do a little like gratitude journal when I can remember just to be grateful. And I love reading. I love buying a book. Have I read every book I've bought? No. And I will get to them. I was like telling myself that I wasn't going to buy any more books. And then this week I bought 3 books. I read one of them. So, they're getting used, but I'm just so excited. I bought Find Your Why by Simon Sinek, I think. I bought Main Street Millionaire by Cody Sanchez. And I bought Educated. I forgot the author's name, but it's that memoir, real life story about how she escaped a very toxic family situation and used education to improve her life. And I was like, that's so crazy. So I'm very excited to read those books, but those are my simple joys. Well, this is a good question. Someone said, I'm planning on getting married in 2 to 3 years. Should I save money for the wedding or buy an investment property? 2 or 3 years, buy the investment property. That is what I would do. I mean, there is no wrong choice. Like both things are going to be great. Like you either are saving for the wedding and you save that money in a high yield savings account, maybe like a 4% interest rate right now. When the time comes, maybe your wedding budget decreases and you don't need as much money. That's never going to happen, is it? But let's say that is the case. Like you just have the cash on hand. That's awesome. You can also buy a property, and a property will probably, if it's in the right area and it's a good choice, it could go up in value in those 4 years and also more. But you have to just decide, like, it doesn't have to be an and or. It doesn't have to be like I have a nice wedding or I have an investment property. Maybe you buy a smaller investment property that is in another area, maybe a cheaper area, maybe rather than like a 3-bedroom in a big city, it's a 2-bedroom unit in a smaller city, and you put some of that money aside for the wedding. I just think like the way I have always made mistakes with money is that I will think I have to either do this thing or that thing. And the truth is you can do both. Like with the right amount, figure out a way to do both. But if I was you, I hope this doesn't bite me in the foot one day, but I don't know if I would want a big wedding. So, I'd buy the investment property because property is going to last forever. Another question said, how's life been after being in the limelight? Guys, I am not in the limelight. It is the exact same. My friends are the same. My family are the same. I like come home and I'm like, Mom, like, look at this that's happened. And she's like, okay, that's really cool. Can you take out the dishes? I remember reading in Indra Noori's biography. She was the CEO of Pepsi Co. and she was an Indian woman. And she said, like, she went home and she told her parents, she was like, Mom, like, I became CEO of Pepsi. And she was like, her mom was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Anyway, we need more milk. Can you go get more milk? And I think that's probably the best way to describe my parents and Indian parents. Someone said, what is your opinion on using a company to manage your investment portfolio? I don't mind that people use professionals to manage their investment portfolio because they are professionals for a reason. But I only ask that you do two things. One, you make sure that the investments that they have made over, not like 1 year, not like 2 years, over 5 or 10 years, has consistently beaten the market. Like if the S&P 500 has done 10% over the last 10 years and this fund that you're looking at has only done 8%, like it's just not worth the fees. And then number two, I would look at the fees. How much are they asking? If they're charging like 2%, run. If they're charging 1%, like that's still high, but you know, that's kind of more of the average. I remember speaking to some friends that had just sold their companies, had done really well. And I was like, you know, you guys can manage your own investment fund. Like I manage my own. It's not hard. And they were like, no, Sim, like if we have to pay someone a little bit more to do something right for us rather than like spending the time to figure it out ourselves, like we are time poor, would rather just give it to someone. And I've heard that a few times actually by some women. So at the end of the day, I don't think there's anything wrong with giving your money to fund managers to help your money be managed. I just think find the right one because fund managers are like teachers. They're good intentions. Some of them are really great and will help you so much, and others will make you like hate the subject of finance for the rest of your life. Like there is just no in between. So do your due diligence and like test out a few, but that's my opinion on it. Another question said, how did you get into real estate? I am brown. And so it is in my blood and my veins to think about real estate as soon as I make my first dollar. Like there is something, brown people, please back me up. Like South Asians, please back me up. We love property. We love property so much. We fight over it. Family feuds happen over, like we live and breathe property. So I just always knew as a teenager, like one day I'm going to own a property and also a investment property. And when I was working, I decided like, okay, I need to get on this property ladder thing. I need to figure it out. It's obviously not going to be my forever home. Like I can't afford that. I'm not having parental help. I don't have a partner to help pay for it. Like this is going to be single girl first house. And so I decided to just like deep dive and do all the research that I could on property because all I knew, like I went to my parents for help and they had only bought a place in like 2002 or something. And the property market had obviously changed since then because I was buying in 2021. So I was like, okay, this is not helpful. So I made a Google Doc. This says a lot about me as a person. I made a Google Doc and everything that I was learning about property, I would like put into that doc and then I would section it and I would have a contents page and it was like how to get like a pre-approval. Okay, I need to go to the bank. I need to submit these documents. Okay, then how to look for houses. How do I narrow down houses? What areas are good? Like I had all these different areas that I was looking at. And then I was like color coding them like, this is a good area. This is a green. This is a okay area. This is an orange. This is a red area. This is very dangerous. Do not buy there. And so I kind of went about it that way. And then it was like, okay, what are things you can negotiate on? Well, who are the people that you need in your toolbox? And actually, when one of my friends was purchasing her first home, I sent her that Google Doc. Actually, I've sent it to a few friends now, and it's still there. It's just like a document with everything that I needed to know, like little checklist things. Like if you go to a home, take a little marble with you and put the marble on the floor. And if the marble rolls, like that's how you know the house isn't level and maybe there's something wrong with like the foundation, like things that you don't think of. Or go see the house when it's raining and go see the house on like a Friday or Saturday night because you want to make sure you're not buying into like a crazy party neighborhood. And you also want to make sure that the house isn't leaky, and houses don't look as nice on a rainy day. That's why all the photos are taken like on a sunny day. So see if you like it in the rain when it's gray and it's not as exciting. So that was how I got into property. And then I just loved it so much. I bought my second home, and then I bought a third home. So I live in one and I have 2 investment properties that are on one piece of land. It's like one in front of the other. So that is my property journey. But I think it's like any other journey. Like if you get interested in something, you just deep dive into it. For investing, I was like, I need to learn everything. With property, I was like, I need to learn everything. I think I just enjoy learning things that aren't necessarily easily taught. It's like a challenge for me. And that probably says something about who I am as well. Another question came up. I have a job offer over $15,000 more than what I'm currently on. The only problem is the work culture sucks. I imagine it's the work culture of the new place that you're talking about. If I had to choose between like more money but a bad work culture and less money but a good work culture, I'd actually choose the less money one, because a bad manager is very detrimental to your health, like almost as detrimental as like smoking cigarettes or not working out. Like I think there was a study that even proved that. Again, you don't have to do one or the other. You don't either. It's not like make more money but have a bad career with a bad culture, or good culture where you are but less money. I would actually go to your manager and be like, hey, I was approached by this other company. I love working here. They're offering me $15,000 more. Like, can you match that? And see what your current employer says. Like everything's negotiable. There's always ways to try and like wiggle things around and make it work for you. And if your manager says no, they'd be like, can I at least get like a $5,000 pay rise? And then let's put in a 6-month plan where you tell me what I need to start doing more of to make an extra $10,000. And then let's review those KPIs and bump me up. Like, let's do it. Let's figure it out. So I think that is always my opinion. I do not like bad work culture. We've all been in one. We've all had one job, and that is just not worth it. That is just, we are better than that. If we can get out of a toxic job, we aim to. Okay, I'll answer one more question. This has been very fun. I don't know how much you guys have enjoyed this, but I really enjoyed this. How are you adjusting to wearing only black tops? I want to do the same thing. Okay, for context, I put on my Instagram story that I bought like 5 black tops, and my aim is just to wear black tops and just like not have to think about what I'm wearing and how I'm wearing it and what I'm pairing it with. It's always like a black top and jeans. I don't know if you get, there you go. Black top and jeans. And I love it. Like, it's just, I don't have to think about it. And that is okay. It is fine. Black tops and jeans are the way to go. It's comfortable. You can't see my sweat stains if I sweat. Like, it's a good look. I'm happy with it. It's clean. Black tops right now. If you see me in anything else, I really don't know if it will make a difference. But yeah, that's kind of everything. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A session. They weren't really that personal questions. I thought people would be like, tell me about your deepest, darkest secret, but none of that came out. So maybe the intro was a little bit more dramatic than it needed to be. But as always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, please take a screenshot, tag us on Instagram, send it to your friend, because the more people that find this podcast, this channel, the more they learn about how to grow their wealth, and what more could we ask for? So with that, I'll see you next week.